Greetings folks, Iolair here. This video is a response to some queries I got a little over a week ago from folks asking whether I liked the tier-VIII Soviet gunboat destroyer Kiev. Now, they were responding, or these folks were asking this query when I posted to Twitter and my YouTube channel that I had reached 1 million ship XP in this ship, and they asked whether I would share a replay, offer my input on how the ship gets played, my play style, and whether I like the ship. And the fact that I have 1 million ship XP on the Kiev should tell you enough that I do like playing the ship a great deal. She is a lot of fun, as well as quite a few of the other Soviet gunboat destroyers. Now, this particular match I had in late May, and I've sort of been sitting on for a while, and this query ended up being a good reason to dust off the replay and share it with you folks. Now, this match is a tier-VIII domination battle on two brothers. I'm in division with my colleague Lynn Wilkie, who is in the premium tier-VIII Soviet light cruiser, the Kutuzov, who's to my southern position. And this match has two carriers per team, one tier-VI, one tier-VIII. And since I do not have smoke, it's going to make it quite a bit more difficult for me to try to take caps. And since I'm the only destroyer or ship designated as a destroyer on this flank, and we'll get more to why I sort of hesitate when calling this a destroyer. I'll get to that here in a moment. I feel obliged to try to take the cap. But like I said, with two carriers in play, it can make it quite difficult. Now, we do see an opposing destroyer on the northwest side of Delta, and he has elected to not come into the cap. I'm going to try to drive back in and try to take this if I can. Send some torpedoes back here, I think, to try to discourage him. So one other thing I should mention about this game is somewhat atypical of the traditional play experience for the Kiev and the other high-speed Soviet gunboat destroyers, because there's a Cyclone that's going to come into play, and Cyclones are not very good to Soviet gunboat destroyers. The destroyers like to stay at range. They like to stay 12 plus kilometers away from their targets, zipping around the map, shooting their guns all the time. They basically don't care that they're detected, but they rely on the range and their high speed to keep themselves alive and to basically act as a giant distraction and harassment of opponents. And the Cyclone makes that very difficult, because in the build that I have here, which is a little different from the build that I now would advocate for this ship, but in this build, I think my detection is 8.9 kilometers, which means that once the Cyclone is in full force, I'm guaranteed to be detected if I run into an opponent. I don't have the concealment like traditional concealment destroyers to stay hidden even when within 8 kilometers of another opponent during a Cyclone. So Cyclones are kind of to the detriment of the traditional playstyle of these ships. Now, I do have other Kiev replays on my channel, and I do recommend that you go check them out, and I'll leave a link to a playlist in the description below. But there are two replays in particular that from March 2019 that I strongly recommend. The first is called Revitalized, and that's when the Kiev, or shortly after the Kiev had picked up the option to take the repair party consumable instead of smoke. And the other is called Rapid Response. In fact, in my opinion, the Rapid Response video is the better of the two. But the point is those two videos don't have Cyclones involved, and they are much more representative of sort of the traditional play style of the Soviet gunboat destroyers, which basically, like I said, they don't care that they're detected, they're just essentially running around shooting their guns all the time, acting as distraction and harassment. So now that we've secured Delta, I'm going to push up the flank here, because again, this is the weak flank of the opponents. We can see that the opponents, well, they appear to be stronger on the west side, although they do have a few ships in the center. But those ships in the center that, at least last time they were detected, aren't able to contribute on this east side. Want to try to get out on the flank here, get the Vladivostok redetected so we can finish him off, because he was quite low in health. I'm coming under attack for I think this is the fourth time by the carriers. So we know that the Lexington was detected north of that island. That's at Charlie 8 or Charlie 9. So it's likely that he's still there, and he keeps sending his planes over here, and that's making it fairly difficult for us to try to move, or at least for me to move up as rapidly as I want, because I'm having to do a lot of maneuvering to try to throw off these attacks. In fact, the Ryujo, which is the tier 6 carrier, has also gotten in on the action. There's the Vladivostok. He's gotten some of his health back. And I think he got a repair party charge in. I think this player has the Kuznetsov, the Soviet special commander, on here, and he will get a heal once he drops below 10% health. There is the Ryujo. He's just like wide out in the open. I'm not sure why, but this is the reason that both of the carriers are coming after me, because I'm the tip of the spear, and they're just going to keep, putting the pressure on me. Now, the Kiev does not have particularly good AA, although I am shooting down a fair number of planes. But the Tashkent has better AA, and actually the Khabarovsk has actually quite strong AA, and you have to always love those HE Citadel hits on these these thinly armored carriers, and the carrier goes down to a shot from our North Carolina. The Vladivostok is still burning, but he's not quite down. I think, if I remember correctly, when I watched the replay at one point, I did see the signal flare from Kutuzov go up. Here are the torpedoes from, I'm thinking, the Lexington. One other note I should make about carrier drops is that the Kiev, the Tashkent, the Khabarovsk, the Minsk, and the Leningrad are often faster than the aerial drop torpedoes, especially if the destroyers have their engine boost activated. The German torpedoes are typically faster. But I'm going to, in fact, there's a drop, excuse me, of torpedoes behind me, and you can see that I'm actually outspacing them here, and that's not too uncommon. The Lexington is still here. I normally don't advocate, in fact, I strongly reject the notion of carrier hunting for that purpose of carrier hunting, but because I keep getting harassed, and I kind of suspected he was up here, I've elected to come in and take out the Lexington. And some of you might recognize that scene from my YouTube channel trailer. I did use that devastating strike in the trailer. So now I'm going to push back over toward Bravo because our team is losing its grip on the west flank, and the opponents have pushed through successfully, and we need to get another cap. We do have a 2-ship advantage, but our lead is going to rapidly diminish here because the opponents have secured 2 caps to our 1, and they're just about to get a 3rd. There, they get 1 more. The Benson here, I don't know why he's been sticking around like he has and shooting his guns. He's basically making himself, he's the only thing that we have on this side to shoot at. And this is going to, basically, again, he's firing his gun. He's going to keep himself detected. He could have gone into concealment, gone up the middle of the map, and rejoined his allies. God, I wish my gunnery had been a little better there. But I think, Lynn gets the kill here on the Benson, and that frees up our path to move into the cap. Now, when we were playing this game, let me first talk about the Cyclone again. So the visual distance is rapidly declining down to 8 kilometers. And at that point, any engagement I have can be very dangerous because, again, I will be immediately detected and I won't be able to use my normal tactics where I'm basically running and gunning to get myself, to keep myself safe. I will simply be too close. But we're at this point, we're kind of desperate to get a cap. We still have a 2-ship advantage, but again, that gap or the point gap is narrowing because the opponents do have 3 caps. We are about to move into Bravo here, and we'll take this. And Lynn and I are basically going to keep going counterclockwise around the islands here. Now, our west flank is, well, basically screwed. The Massachusetts just went down there. Our 2 carriers, which are on the Juliet line, are pincered off. They're doomed. There's nothing, they can just hope to get as much damage as they can in on some of these opponents, but they're going to go down, and that's going to put us in a ship deficit. And once the first carrier goes down, we are definitely behind at that point. The frustrating part for us, for Lynn and me at this point, was our North Carolina and our New Mexico, who are both full health, had basically sailed up the 10 line and had been largely non-contributory, as we would have liked. But we are where we are, and Lynn and I are going to race over to the Bravo cap, because again, we need to keep back capping, try to build some cushion, because we know that the two carriers are going to go down. You can see there's 3 detected ships. In fact, there's a 4th one. I think that's a Trento, or I can't remember exactly what it was. In fact, it's a Perth. In fact, we now see them. So all 4 of the surface combatant opponents that are south of the caps are cutting off the carriers and basically going to finish them off. Now, credit to the other cruiser I think that's a Surrey that went to the Charlie cap to take that for our team. We're not sure where he is. Our 2 carriers just went down, so now we have a nearly 200-point deficit. We have secured 2 caps. We're trying to get a 3rd here. And I feel that I've got to go and try to do something in the south, but with the storm in effect, it's going to be very hard for me to try to engage these opponents unless I can do like a torpedo drive-by or something. But they will still have some significant time before I'm able to close the distance to be able to get some shots on me and potentially take me out. Now you can see there was a ping on the map because our New Mexico continues to basically not participate. He's sailing away from where the opponents are, which is not what we need. We did detect briefly the Surrey is now going north up through the center channel back to Bravo, presumably to back cap, which might or might not work for him because he's now going to be potentially in a crossfire between Lynn and the Kutuzov and our New Mexico. So I'm also not very happy about how I'm having to approach this, although I don't feel like I have much choice. I have to continue to try to support the cap taking. I, however, am going to be kind of pincered here because I've got the cruiser in the channel to the north that it doesn't give me an escape vector north out of the through Charlie. To get away from the opponents. Now, you can see that our carriers still have some planes in the air, and they have detected some of the opponents, including the Gneisenau, that is heading north toward Alpha. And I sent some semi-predictive torps, although I don't have radio location, but I had a general sense on where the Gneisenau is, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens there. We got about 20 seconds before we take the cap, but we don't know where the Massachusetts is. Now I'm detected. There's the Massachusetts. I'm sorry, I keep calling it a Surrey. It was a Dallas that went up the center to try to take it, and Lynn was able to take him out. This is an extremely dangerous situation for me. Oh, by the way, those torpedoes I sent, I did land one. So sorry for the hard pan there. I realize now that I've run into the Shenyang, so I'm just going to gun him down. He's way lower health. I have repair party charges available to me here shortly, and well, I kind of hope I had finished him off with the previous salvo so he wouldn't get any more salvos in. And now I have to run away. Our North Carolina got wrecked by between the fire being broadside to the Massachusetts and taking torpedoes from the Shenyang. He got completely wrecked. He was full health coming into that cap. I take a big hit from the Massachusetts. I probably could have been trying to dodge a little more easily, but it is what it is. So I've just got to get away, stay in concealment. I have used my last repair. I'm going to head north through Delta and try to get on the other side on the expectation that the Massachusetts is going to move toward the cap because we have a lead now. The ship counts are even. Our New Mexico is now sailing up the middle. In fact, I'm going to type in the chat here that he should not be doing this. He should be trying to stay with Lynn. In fact, there's the comment from me in chat. But as luck would have it, his action here is actually going to be, well, luckily important. I don't know that he was necessarily thinking, the player was necessarily thinking that he was making a good choice here, but as luck turns out, it will end up being to our advantage, and you'll see why once we get a little farther along in the replay. So Lin is trying to stay in a position where he's not going to get focused out or finished off by the Gneisenau, but he also wants to be able to try to get resets, and the storm will start lifting here fairly soon. We've been in full force of the storm for quite a while, and I've slowed here, hoping that I would be able to detect the Massachusetts. In fact, there he is. And yes, the storm mechanics are lifting. So now I'm going to use my range and my speed. I have one engine boost remaining to keep the Massachusetts detected, while at the same time resetting the cap, because it's clear now that he is heading for Delta to try to take it. Lin was not able to prevent the Gneisenau from taking Alpha. In fact, you're seeing a whole bunch of comments in chat about the storm mechanics. In fact, I think the Massachusetts is going to type into chat, why is he detected? I'm not sure if he understood that I had sailed through the cap and the storm was lifting. Yeah, I think we'll see a comment from him in chat on that here in a moment. But I'm waiting till he gets actually in the cap. Now, our New Mexico, which sailed up the middle, is actually back capping Charlie, which turns out, oh, in fact, there's the comment from the Massachusetts in chat asking why he's being spotted. But the New Mexico's choice to go up the middle, actually, to our luck and benefit, is actually helping us, because it means that he will back cap that cap, and that will help provide some cushion on our fairly narrow lead. If we do lose in a ship, that lead is going to be largely removed. So I'm just going to use my speed and and the range here. So this is much more typical of the Soviet gunboat playstyle. You don't get anywhere near his secondaries. They're on due set of fire. I don't care so much about the damage. I just want to reset the cap. I want to prevent him from taking the cap. In fact, he does fire on me here. I'm going to make a hard turn here and avoid this salvo. And this is how the Soviet gunboats tend to be played. They're harassers. They'll stay at range and protect themselves just through their speed and avoiding the incoming fire. In fact, I think in this match I don't quite rack up a million potential damage, but in fact, I had a recent Tashkent game where I earned over 2.5 million potential damage. And I might feature that game as well, because that was a good game to watch, and again exemplifies the playstyle. Now the Gneisenau and the Perth, in fact, it's the Perth, has gotten into the Bravo cap. So there's clearly this race to be back capping, to try to keep the points building for your elected teams. The teams are going to stay even right now because they each have full control of one cap, and other caps are being contested. Going to swing back here, try to get some more shots on the Mass. In fact, Lin, I think, had set a fire on the Massachusetts, and Lin is just trying to use his very, very good range, that's over 19 kilometers, and very good ballistics to also put pressure on the Massachusetts and keep the cap reset. In fact, I think at this point, the Massachusetts is probably tired of trying to shoot at me and missing. He's got to make his shots count. There's another fire on the Massachusetts. And our New Mexico has come around the corner and is south of the Delta cap, and so he'll be able to crossfire the Massachusetts. In fact, I'm starting to take fire from the Perth that's in the middle of Bravo, and I have to turn away here so I don't take shots from him, because I'm a little too close than I'd like to be. I'm within 10 kilometers, which is closer than you usually want to be. One other comment on the range here. Part of the reason that you stay at such long ranges as well is to avoid radar. My general guidance there is, if you're in one of these gunboat destroyers and you don't worry about radar, because if you're close enough to be radared, you're too close to the gameplay. The New Mexico, who backcapped for us, ends up finishing off the Massachusetts, and that's going to lock up the game. as the last minute is winding down. So this was a really good match. Some very good play by a number of both teams to be able to stay in the game and keep things going. And we'll take a look at the results here as the time winds down, and we're going to exit here. So 126,000 in damage, 24 planes, Dreadnought. I get Dreadnought in almost all the games that I play, probably 80%. So that's really nice. Over 3,000 base XP. So this is a really hard-fought game for us, and I really liked the result. But again, it is kind of atypical of the traditional play style with all the capping that was going on. So I hope you found the replay and the guidance here interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.